Hello everyone. Welcome to your session on Docker Container Simplified. Let us dive into some industry cases of containers. Top companies such as PayPal, Spotify, Netflix, and Shopify use containers for the growth of their company. So let's see everything in detail. For example, PayPal has made a 2-year journey to 200 global markets, with an active users of 210 million people, in which they generated a revenue of $3 billion, where they crossed $100 billion total volume transaction. Now let's learn about containers. What is a container? Container is a unit of software packages, with all the code, and almost all its dependencies. Why containers? Containers are highly reliable, and highly efficient. They are lightweight, which makes it a favorite for storage and network transport. Let's now see about Docker. What is Docker? Docker is a technology to create containers. It is an open source product for packaging software applications and creating executable images. Let us see why Docker. It allows you to ship, test, and deploy your applications in any environment without worrying about incompatible issues, regardless of the machine's configuration settings. Dockers are immutable, so production and quality assurance are in sync, and its reproducing issue is easy. Let us see how to create an AWS account. Open your browser and search AWS. Click on the Amazon Web Services page. Now let's tap on Create a Free Account. Enter the email ID and an account name of your choice. It will send a verification code to the entered email. Go to the email, copy the verification code, and paste it to verify. Our email authentication is done. Let's create a password, with the expectations shown on the screen. Now let's provide our contact and address information, and agree to the terms by acknowledging the checkbox below. And agree to the terms by acknowledging the checkbox below. Next step is to provide our billing details, either a credit or a debit card. Please don't worry about the charge or card details. AWS offers 750 plus hours of charge-free resources, and you can keep a track of them. So feel free to provide the information, as it is a part of creating the account. Final step is to verify our identity using mobile SMS authentication. Then type the CAPTCHA shown in the image. Now verify the code sent to your mobile. Once the verification is completed, there are different plans which you can choose according to your needs, and complete the sign-up process. Congratulations! We have successfully created an AWS account. To log into the console, tap on Go to the AWS Management Console. Provide the email ID. And the password which we used while creating the account, and sign in. Here we are at the AWS console page. Let's see the commands for installation of Docker. Following this, we will help you with the installation of Docker in a simplified way. So Docker can be installed in multiple platforms such as Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, Windows, and Mac. Please view the run commands on most common platforms such as Ubuntu and Amazon Linux. To check the Docker version, run the command Docker version on both platforms. Here we are at the AWS console. Let's select EC2 and launch the instance. Once we launch an instance, we have a set of parameters to fill. First we will have to name the instance. So let's name it EC2 instance. And we have a set of platforms to select, where we will select the Ubuntu server and use the version 20. After selecting the suitable server, let's scroll down to key pair options. Here we could create a key pair and enable the key pair if you want to log in using OpenSSH, where you don't have to enable it, and proceed without a key pair, which is not recommended. Now under Network Settings, tap on Edit, and scroll down to Add Security Group Rule. And select HTTP, which is port 80. And change the source type to Anywhere. Now we are done with all the parameters, where we are all set to launch the instance. This may take up a minute to launch the instance. Once the instance is successfully created, it will show us the instance ID. So let's get back to our instance page, where we have all our instances running. And let's select the instance, which we created a while ago, which will show up all the parameters, which we have set for the particular instance. Now let's connect the instance to install Docker. It may take a while to establish connection in the terminal. Once the connection is established, let's run a few commands in order to install Docker. Let's clear the terminal by using clear command. First command is sudo -i, because by default, it's the root user that owns the Unix socket, and other users can only access it using sudo. Moving on, sudo apt- get update, which will get the updates from the server. Once it's fetched, type sudo apt install docker.io-y, which will install the Docker. Once the Docker is installed, let's check the version using Docker version command and verify the Docker version. That's it. We have successfully installed Docker. In case if the Docker service is not working, try the following commands. To start the Docker service, run the command Sudo service docker start. To run a service, run the command $systemctl enable docker.service. To check status, run the command $systemctl status docker.service. A virtual machine, VM. A virtual machine is a software emulation of a physical computer system, enabling multiple operating systems to run concurrently on a single physical machine. Let's now see the cost comparison between virtual machine and containers. Cost is a major key point when choosing Docker or virtual machine. Both are cost-effective, but Docker is usually preferred because it is more affordable due to its resource efficiency and deployment processes. Netflix also uses Docker containers to host thousands of applications over 7 regionally isolated stacks across tens of thousands of EC2 instances. In fact, Netflix launches as many as 3 million containers per week, making it one of the largest users of Docker in the world. So now let's jump into the Docker images part, where we will see about build images, share images, and run images. First, let's see Docker build and run workflow. Docker build command can build custom images using Dockerfile. Docker images can be pushed into public or private repository using Docker push. Docker pull command can be used to pull images. Docker run command can be used to run these images into containers. If you want to collaborate, you need to share Docker images. To share Docker images, you need to have a Docker Hub account. Next, you have to tag and push the image using the following commands. If you have pushed your image to a public repository, you can share your image with any public user. If you have pushed your image to a private repository, you can share your image only with your team members who have access. Please check the external source on how to create and share images using Docker Hub. In the previous exercise we learned how to build an image. Let us now learn how to run images. To run an image inside a container, you use the docker run command. The command takes several parameters along with the image ID. These parameters include options for running the container in interactive mode, along with port number, volume mapping. Here is a sample run command, docker run -d, -p, 80 is to 80, image ID, where D runs the image in detached mode, and P for port mapping between host directory, container directory. Let us learn how to share your Docker images. Visit hub.docker.com. Create a Docker login account. Use social login to authenticate. Create a private repository. Now go to the terminal. Command docker login. Authenticate your credentials. Let's tag the image. Now push the image. On hub.docker.com, refresh your repo to see the uploaded image. If you have pushed your image to a public repository, you can share your image with any public user. If you have pushed your image to a private repository, you can share your image only with your team members who have access. Spotify has been using Docker since 2014. Spotify is one of the early adopters of Docker, and has been a major contributor to the Docker project. Let us now learn Docker networking. Docker networking supports several types of networks for connecting containers, such as bridge network, host network, overlay network, and null network. To list all the networks, use the command docker network ls. This command would list the network ID, name, driver, and scope of the containers running currently. Connect to your EC2 terminal. Log in as super user. Create a bridge network for application and database containers. Using the command docker network create subnet driver, specify the bridge and the name of the network. Similarly, create another network for database 2 container using the command docker network create subnet driver, specify the bridge and the name of the network. To confirm whether the networks are in their respective subnets, let's inspect. Docker inspect name of the network. Similarly, confirm the other network as well using the command docker inspect name of the network. Now let's create application container, database 1 container, and database 2 container with different IP address under their respective subnet ID using docker run name of the container, name of the network, the container IP, followed by your interactive terminal in detached mode, and provide the image you want to run. Similarly for database 1 container, press the up arrow key and change the name and the container IP. Repeat the process for database 2 container and change the name of the network as well. We have created all the 3 containers successfully. Let us confirm each container's IP address using the command docker inspect container name grep IP address. Similarly, inspect the remaining 2 containers to verify its IP address. Press the up arrow key and change the container name respectively. Now let us check the bridge networking by attaching to the containers and ping them. Command docker container attach application container. Ping the other container using the command ping database 1 container. Once pinged, press Ctrl+C to stop the ping and ping the database 2 container. We could see bad address because database 2 container is in a different subnet, so it won't get pinged. However, we can ping it using an overlay network. Please subscribe to our next advanced program to know more about Docker networking and more complex details. Finally, let's disconnect a container from its network using docker network disconnect name of the network, name of the container, To confirm whether the container is disconnected, use Docker inspect. Name of the container. We could verify that database 2 container IP address is not available. Let's view about container security. There are security threats that containers have to tackle. Open source libraries can carry viruses, malware and codes that can produce unintended consequences. Images built using these libraries end up carrying those vulnerabilities. They are transmitted into the containers and can run on the clusters. They gain entrance, escalate privileges, and in some cases act as a container in the middle attack, delivering distributed denial of service attacks, or DDoS for short. Here are some comprehensive container security countermeasures. The best practice is to perform preventive vulnerability assessment using image scanners and system monitoring for intrusion detection. Image scanners such as Snyk can be used to eliminate image vulnerabilities. Containers with synthetic data can act as honeypots, can lure any hackers and catch them dead on track in their hack attempts. Adoption of these comprehensive methods and best practices are necessary to manage container security. Docker is a product that creates images. Container is a process. VM requires a hypervisor. Container has zero-cost leasing. VM are charged by cloud provider. VM is used for heavier load, and containers are used for lighter loads. Docker runs on the following platforms such as Ubuntu, Windows, Amazon Linux, and Mac. Docker can be used to build images, run images, and share images. True. When we have a lot of containers, we need an orchestration tool to track the performance of the containers. True. Docker containers runs as a process, so do not have inherent persistent storage capability. True. To stop a container, the command is docker stop container ID.
I hope you enjoyed our little glimpse of Docker Foundation. Please check out the Udemy link in description to complete your Simplified Docker Foundation course and get certified.
Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.